All right, so let's take a look at another, an important graph. We're going to take a look at a bunch of important graphs, and the first one is a circle. So the equation for a circle with center at the origin being 0, 0, and radius r is given by x squared plus y squared equals r squared. Okay, so notice that it kind of looks a little bit like the distance equation. In fact, it looks like the Pythagorean theorem. We'll see that in a minute. So let's take a look at what a graph would look like. So this is a circle centered at the origin with radius r. So that means that anywhere from the center out to the circle is a distance of r. Okay, so specifically, let's go and get a few key points here. Let's look at the point there, the point there, the point there, and the point there. Okay, and let's name them. Well, this one here at the right here, this is actually r out in x, because the radius is r, and then 0 up in y, so r0. While this point here is actually 0 out in x, and then r up. This point on the left here is actually minus r, 0, because it's r back, and then 0 up. And then this point down here is 0 in the x direction, and then r down, which would be a negative r in y. All right, so and notice here with the radius, basically you have an x coordinate and a y coordinate for every point. And so now you see inside we have a little right triangle where x squared plus y squared is r squared, hence that's why the formula looks like that. Okay, now what if we didn't want to center the circle at the origin? Well, it could be centered anywhere else, and the only difference now is that if the center is a point hk and the radius is r, then we're going to have x minus h all squared plus y minus k all squared equals r squared. So there's a difference there. Notice that if you were to use the point 0, 0, then you would just get x squared plus y squared equals r squared and be the one at the origin. All right, so let's take a look here. So imagine we have this point out here that's the center. So that's the hk, right? And I'm going to imagine we have a circle there and with radius r. So let's get some 4 points just like we did before. So I'm going to get ones that are on the sides and on the top and bottom. So what would these points look like? Well, realize we know the center is hk, so your h out in the x direction, and we know the y coordinate of the center is k, so your k up in the y. Also remember that the radius is r. So this point on the right here, this would be its x coordinate. It would have gone h out and then another r to get there. So h plus r in x, and then it's still at the height k. Now on the other side, you would have had to go h out, but then you would have to go back r. So this point, you write it over here, is h minus r, and it's still at a y level of k. Now, the point at the top here, this would be h out in x, all right, because it's just at the h level in x, and then in y, you would have to go k up and then another r, k plus r, and the one at the bottom here, you would go h out, you would go up k, but then you'd have to come back down r, so k minus r. So let's take a look at some examples, but first, notice this. If you want to get the equation of a circle, what do you need to know? Well, you need to know the center and the radius. If you know those, you can build the circle, because if you look at the equation, it's x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So the center is the point hk, so that would give you h and k in there, and the radius is r, so that would give you the r to go into r squared. For example, take the first one here. What is the equation of the circle centered at -3, 8 with a radius of 3, and then graph it? All right. Well, they're already telling me that h is -3 and k is 8. And a radius of 3 is r equals 3. So if I'm asking, do I know my center? Yes. Do I know my radius? Yes. So I should be able to just use x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is r squared. In other words, x minus -3 all squared plus y minus 8 all squared equals 3 squared. Simplifying, x plus 3 squared plus y minus 8 squared is 9. There is the equation of my circle. And if I want to sketch a graph of it, let's get... Okay, so let's say -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. So what they're telling me is that the center is -3, 8. All right, so there's -3, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8. So there's where the center would be. All right, and then what I'll do is I'll just get those 4 points like before. Basically, by knowing that the radius is 3, I'm just going to go 3 to the right, 3 to the left, 3 up, and 3 down. So 3 to the right would actually land me right on the axis there at the 8. 3 to the left would land me at 1, 2, 3, -6. 3 up in y, now 8, 9, 10, 11. And 3 down, 8, 7, 6, 5, would land me right there. And that's the circle we're talking about. So I don't think that one was too bad because we actually started with the center and the radius. Let's go to this problem here. What is the equation of a circle which has a diameter with endpoints -5, 0, and 3, 4? Graph it. Okay. Well, so I'm asking, do I have the center? Do I have the radius? And I don't have either one right now, so I'm going to have to find it. All right, so let me just make a little circle here just describing what this looks like in general. It doesn't have to be perfect. So let's just say this is -5, 0, and let's say this is 3, 4. I'm just using this to illustrate. And so they're saying that's a diameter, so it passes through the center. All right, so if I wanted to know what the center is, and I do because I need that, oh, well, that's pretty easy. That's just the midpoint of a diameter. Okay, so if I want to get the center here, I'm just going to say it's the midpoint, and we know that that was x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2, and that would give me -5 plus 3 over 2, and 3, sorry, 0 plus 4 over 2, and I would get the midpoint to be, that's negative 2 over 2, so that's negative 1, that's 4 over 2, and that's 2. So what I just found there is HK. So I have the center. Now I don't know the radius yet, but let's go back to the original equation of the circle. I'm going to put in what I just found. I found that h was negative 1 and k was 2. So x minus negative 1 is x plus 1 squared, plus y minus k is y minus 2 squared is r squared. Okay, so I have two choices here. I could either find maybe the distance from the center to one of those 2 points to get the radius, or I could just take either one of those points and plug them in here. So if I plug in, if I use x is negative 5 and y is 0, what would I get? I get negative 5 plus 1 squared plus 0 minus 2 squared is r squared. That's negative 4 squared. That's 16 plus negative 2 squared is 4 is r squared. So r squared is 20, or in other words, r is square root of 20, which is 2 radical 5. So I could write my equation. It's x plus 1 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals r squared, but we found out that was 20. Now if I wanted to sketch this one, it's going to be a little trickier because of the numbers involved here. But let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the center is negative 1, 2. It's negative 1 up 2. So now the idea is I have to go 2 radical 5, the radius, in each of the 4 directions. But 2 radical 5 is not a nice number. If you work that out, if you put that in a calculator, find that's about 4.5. So I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and a little more to go over to the right. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, and a little more up. Go 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a little more left. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, and a little more down. And that's how I could get my circle. Notice that if I drew this a little better, you would see that negative 5, 0 is on the circle, and 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that was the original points that were given.